The Film Archive had taken in collections from individual film buffs and collectors in the early 1980s, and there are many United States nitrate-based films amongst those collections, and we knew that, and we had prepared a list. And in the 1980s we did quite a lot of exchanges with archives in Britain, Europe and America, returning these early films to where they came from. But there had been quite a pause in that process over the 1990s and even the last decade. It was really the visit by Brian Meacham to New Zealand just last year, and he made just the collegial visit to the Film Archive and came across the listings of the material that we held, and that really started the ball rolling here. There are 75 films in this consignment, which has gone to, I think, 3 different United States archives, but that's only 10% of the total holdings. And we suspect there are other possibly equally important films within there, especially ones that didn't retain their titles. So we'll take further research to identify exactly what they are. So there is potentially, there are more finds, more treasures amongst them. They span, I think the earliest goes right back to Edison, so that's the very first years of the century, through to the 1930s. The films are different lengths. Some of them were made as short films, some are trailers, and some are fragments remaining of longer films. So there's a whole range of lengths involved. They are in generally quite good condition to very good condition, but nonetheless they will all need to be hand repaired. That means going through them frame by frame, repairing tears and missing pieces and so on. And then they're sent to a laboratory and reprocessed, and a new safety print is made. In the case of Upstream, which is a feature-length film, all that handwork was done at the New Zealand Film Archive in Wellington, and then it was sent to Park Road Post-Production, which is Peter Jackson's laboratory, also in Wellington, and all of that photochemical work was done there, and the result was a complete restoration and preservation of film was done in Wellington before it left New Zealand. Peter Jackson made a film called Forgotten Silver years ago, which was, let's say, an archetypical story, entirely fictional, about a New Zealand filmmaker who had made epic films in the 1920s which had then been lost. This is a recurring story of early cinema. It is the story of a number of real New Zealand filmmakers, and it's a story all over the world of collections of early cinema which have been lost, misplaced, overlooked for generations, and can still be brought back to life like this one. Well, I'm going to see Upstream for the first time tomorrow night. No one's seen it up till now, since the 1920s, and that's part of the excitement of these finds, is that they go through all the restoration process and you don't actually see them move. They are a collection of still images, thousands of still images, and it's only when all the work is done and the house lights go down that you get to see them come to life again. Well, Ford went through an apprenticeship. He worked for studios and learned his craft before the sound era and before he became such a famous director of westerns. This is part of him learning that craft. I'm told it's his best, it was always seen as his best of his silent films, and by sheer luck it's the only one so far which has been found. In those hundreds of films there are the roots of a whole lot of major Hollywood careers and the work of some great Hollywood actors and actresses.
I think that what this find means to the Academy is it's a new level of cooperation. It's some missing pieces of the puzzle of not only John Ford's career, but some of the real early pioneers. I mean, there's films going back to 1910. Among the earliest films shot in California, one shot in Yosemite in 1910 that's truly amazing and a real find from a studio. Most of the films of that studio are gone. They've made hundreds and hundreds of films, and there's just a handful left. So to be able to see that film, to be able to put it into perspective, it's great not only for film history, but I think it also opens the eyes of the general public when they see these things to realize that just exactly how primitive the art form was just 100 years ago, and to see exactly how far we've come, and yet also to see how incredibly passionate the people that made these films were about them and about their craft, and how quickly things changed and developed. It's just marvelous fun. We keep finding things, we keep looking, and every time we find something, it's a different story. I mean, in this case, it was a film archive that's been in existence since 1981, collecting these things from various collectors. But to find them in this kind of pristine condition and to find so many of them is pretty rare. Usually it ends up being a film here or a film there. There's no point to saving these films if nobody ever sees them. Putting them in a closet or in a vault is certainly going to protect them, but at the same time, you don't appreciate things that you don't see and use. So having the public be able to see these films, not only here at the Academy headquarters in Beverly Hills, but around the country and around the world. Our film archive loans prints all over the world on a regular basis. We post that on our website so you can see where the Academy's film prints are going. And film prints in general are a limited thing because the digital age is changing everything very rapidly. So there's not only a concern about being able to show things as they were originally projected historically, but also to be able to preserve them digitally and preserve the new digital productions as well. So it's a very complicated process, and it's one that the more the public learns, the more they'll appreciate what they're seeing, and also the more they'll appreciate what we have before it's gone.